Welcome to Joe's Astrology. This is the birth chart for Cat Williams. He just did a special on Netflix. He's a famous comedian, actor. He has Leo rising, Sun in Virgo, and Moon in Aquarius. And with these combinations of Leo, Virgo, Aquarius, obviously the Leo rising, the Sun, the ruler is in the first house, and it's conjunct Venus. So Leo being the comedian, Sagittarius, Leo being associated with comedy, and it's in the ruler, the Sun is conjunct Venus in the first house. This person would uh, do very well on stage in front of people um, with that Venus conjunct Sun, and it's in the first house. He also has Mercury in the first house in Leo retrograde, so he's showing that he's really redoing this in some way in this life. And what's interesting with this chart is that when I watch him, you do see the Virgo and the Aquarius qualities where he may say things that are kind of out of pocket, but that's par for the course with comedy. But with him, with the Virgo Leo combination, I always see with this, his saving grace is probably that Venus conjunct the Sun. But when I see this Virgo Leo combination, I usually see a person who has that willingness or desire to be center stage and may even have some success being um, in front of people, etc. But then there's that Virgo aspect where with Cat Williams, I'm not sure it really is uh, publicly apparent. I'd have to look more into some research. I mean, there is some indication of this that with that Virgo, it's like you're putting yourself out there with Leo, and then Virgo's bringing you back, and you're overthinking, you're maybe being criticized more than usual. Just there's need to step back and really analyze yourself. Uh, Maybe do some self improvement work, things of that nature. And we see there's heavy emphasis on Virgo here with the Sun and Venus in Virgo, Pluto's in Virgo, and the Mars North Node and Moon is also in the sixth house. And if we look at the ruler of that North Node, Uranus, it's making a aspect to that Sun and Venus in Virgo. So, as well as you could see, there's a lot of inconjuncts. You see an inconjunct here between Uranus and the midheaven. There's an inconjunct between the Sun, Venus, and the North Node and Mars. Inconjunct can be a Virgo. There can be a Virgo inconjunct, which there are. There is a Virgo inconjunct here between the Sun and Mars. So lots of Virgo energy. And I saw from a young age, he left, basically claimed to be an adult at 13 years old, left home, had a period of homelessness. So we see Saturn here being in Gemini. Think of Gemini just kind of being a wanderer, somebody who gets around. Saturn in the 10th definitely can correlate to homelessness, because Saturn in the 10th is a very strong Saturn. You're going to see Saturnian themes in this person's life. And Saturn and Capricorn can often implicate some time as being homeless in life. And we can see even the part of this Virgo um, crisis in the life. We see Capricorn on the 6th, and you could say that some of this homelessness is meant to occur. And again, I'm speculating here, but it could be meant to occur to bring about that crisis for some reason, so that the person may rethink things, do things differently this time. We see he also has Mars retrograde on the North Node, and he is very successful. And you could see with the Mars North Node that would indicate maybe some fruition in the life, and he has had some success, but it is also retrograde, and that's more indication of this need to redo or rethink his ambitions. Uh, and I also noticed in he's been arrested many times. So we see Mars in the North Node there, that like indication of having trouble with the law. Mars being police, it being retrograde again, like having this idea of like, okay, is this really how you want to do things? With the Moon in Aquarius, we see the Mars Moon there. We see some trauma, and again, it's in the sixth house. It's in Aquarius, the sign of trauma. His Mars is making a trine to Uranus, the ruler of Aquarius, and he seems to be getting away with it. So it's you can really see in the life with this idea of the Sun and the Leo, and then the Leo aspect and the Virgo aspect, the Aquarius, the Leo, the Aquarius, the South Node Leo coming from a place of being a Leo, being center stage, wanting attention, being the performer, and then moving into this Aquarius, uh, where a person like this would get away with a lot of this because he's meant to change. He's meant to uh, think these things over and figure out um, how he wants to do things differently versus someone who would get caught and put in jail for life and really go into hiding, so to speak. Now he does have the South Node in the 12th as well, so we can correlate that with the idea of being imprisoned. South Node 12th, imprisonment, and then the ruler. We see the Sun in the first. More of that emphasis of being meant to, you go to prison, reflect on your sins, so to speak. And he seems to have, you can see with Venus there as well, with the Sun, there is like a little bit of that saving grace where he can uh, get away with this process as opposed to being like imprisoned for life or being homeless for life. And he does have Jupiter conjunct Neptune, which I think is a very fortunate aspect, what we see with very successful people. And I read also that he's still religious. He had Jehovah's Witness experiences when he was younger. I don't know if that's true, that he's still religious. He still claims to be Christian or Islamic, and we can see that with the emphasis on Jupiter, and we see the Jupiter Pluto sextile. We see there's an opportunity there to transform his beliefs. There's an opportunity to maybe you can say increase his wealth, increase his notoriety with that Jupiter Neptune sextile Pluto. And Jupiter and Neptune are also in the fourth with an angular house. So he has a lot of angular houses here, we see, or planets in angular houses with the Mercury, Sun, Venus, Pluto, the Jupiter, Neptune. So that can give a Jupiter an importance in the life, this idea of religion, um, which all of this is very confusing. It's somewhat confusing to me to see all these experiences and then to see this person. I think his past just stand up. I didn't watch it. Woke folk, but just to have things like that and then have a person still be very much religious is very confusing to me. I did watch a little bit of the stand up and it seemed pretty terrible. He is going through a Pluto Moon transit, which I do think that has something to do with that. I can't imagine he would have a successful stand up during a Pluto Moon transit. Someone also mentioned to me that she thought the uh, Drake Drake Kendrick conflict was started partially in a way to distract from this Cat Williams, and you could see that I don't know if that's true. That was like on purpose, but you can see terrible timing. The Netflix special was really terrible timing with this Pluto Moon transit. And I do think that was intentional with this chart to continue, because you can see Pluto's going through a 6, that his crisis, in order to transform himself, will continue as Pluto goes over his Mars and over his North Node and his 7th house in the next 7 to 10 years. So I do think that is intentional, where the crisis will continue in order for him to transform himself. There was some mention of lots of aggressive activity during his shows in the past, and we see, like I said, all the imprisonment with that Mars North Node and all the first house, the person, and Saturn the 10th. Saturn is trining that Mars. It's definitely could be a person who can lose his cool and at times be aggressive. With that Moon in Aquarius, we see the trauma to the emotional life, maybe trauma to the mother, with trauma to the family, him leaving the family at 13 years old. So unless that's resolved, there can be, residual feelings coming up as he goes on and throughout his life, not being able to handle criticism. And we see the North Node here it is trining Saturn. He does have, with that Saturn the 10th and trining the North Node, he must have some level of responsibility, and or maybe it's just his ambition that really drives him to do the work. Obviously with the Mars, the Mars stuff and the Aquarius and the Saturn the 10th, he does have a lot of strong placements that would make him responsible and able to do work very well. You could say this Jupiter is squaring the nodes, and it really comes back to this South Node in the 12th. And you can see the Jupiter, Neptune in the 4th in Scorpio. These emotional cataclysms, these little emotional crises that he may have, really driving him to resolve this 12th house, Leo, how he wants to present himself, how he wants to get known, how he wants to get famous. Does he want to continue to be the kind of odd character that he is here with all this Aquarius, the odd character that is always going through crisis, Virgo, that may be embarrassing himself in order to be funny? Or you could see maybe he's thinking of, maybe in the future we'll see him go deep into spirituality and become this transformed religious figure. I could see that as well. So I'll leave it there for now, and I hope you enjoyed this mini reading for Cat Williams.